Picture this moment. Her energy shifts without explanation. The warmth you've grown accustomed to suddenly feels distant, unreachable. Where yesterday there was connection, today there's a wall of mirrors. You're searching for reasons, analyzing conversations, replaying moments. But here's what's really happening. She's not withdrawing from you. She's calling something forth from within you. Most men interpret these moments as rejection. They scramble to fix what they believe is broken. They apologize for crimes they never committed. They chase affection like beggars chasing coins. This is precisely where they lose the game they didn't know they were playing, because what's unfolding isn't personal. It's archetypal. She's not testing your ability to please her. She's awakening something far more essential: your capacity to remain yourself when everything around you demands you become someone else. When her voice carries an edge that wasn't there before, when her smile holds secrets you can't decode, when she becomes a riddle wrapped in silence. She's not being difficult. She's being authentic to something deeper than conscious intention. The feminine doesn't ask for strength directly. It summons strength through contradiction, through complexity, through the art of becoming unknowable. Carl Jung understood this dance long before modern psychology gave it names. He recognized that within every man lives an internal feminine, the anima. This isn't about gender roles or stereotypes. It's about psychic completion. The woman before you becomes a living mirror of this inner feminine. Through her, you encounter parts of yourself you've never integrated. When she creates space between you, she's offering you a choice. Will you collapse into that space, or will you fill it with your own presence? They mistake her withdrawal for abandonment. They interpret her silence as punishment. They turn her natural rhythms into evidence of their inadequacy. But what if the opposite were true? What if her stepping back is actually an invitation forward, not toward her, but toward yourself? The man who panics at her distance reveals something crucial. He has been living in her reflection rather than his own reality. He has made her approval his compass, her mood his weather, her attention his very oxygen. This isn't love. This is unconscious dependency masquerading as devotion. Jung called this projection, the psychological process where we assign our inner wholeness to external figures. When you project your completeness onto her, you become half a person seeking your other half. But here's the paradox. She can only love a whole man. The moment her warmth becomes your source of worth, you've already lost her respect. Not because she's cruel, but because her soul recognizes what your mind refuses to see. You've abandoned yourself to win her. And no feminine energy, no matter how loving, can respect a man who won't respect himself enough to stay present in his own skin. This is why she creates distance. Not to punish you, but to see if you'll use that space to remember who you are. Will you fill the silence with desperate words, or will you find your center in the stillness? Will you chase her energy, or will you cultivate your own? The answer to these questions determines everything. Because the feminine doesn't want another dependent. She wants a counterpart, someone whose presence is so grounded, so unshakable, that she can finally stop holding up the relationship and start dancing in it. The men who understand this stop trying to solve her. They stop treating her moods like puzzles to decode or problems to fix. Instead, they become curious about what her energy is revealing about their own inner landscape. When she grows quiet, they don't fill the space with nervous chatter. When she becomes unpredictable, they don't scramble to control the variables. They simply remain present to whatever is arising without making it about them. This is containment. Not suppression, not indifference, but the capacity to hold space for what is without being consumed by it. Most men confuse this with being stoic or emotionally unavailable. But true containment is the opposite of numbness. It's feeling everything while being moved by nothing. It's the difference between a rock that breaks under pressure and water that flows around obstacles. The integrated masculine doesn't resist the feminine storms. It becomes the calm eye within them. This is what she's truly testing when she becomes difficult to read. Can you love her chaos without losing your center? Can you witness her intensity without making it your responsibility? Can you hold space for her full expression without taking it personally? These aren't relationship skills, they're spiritual practices. And the man who masters them discovers something profound. Her tests weren't about her at all. They were about calling forth the parts of himself he'd been too afraid to embody. The part that doesn't need her validation to feel valuable. The part that can stand in uncertainty without creating stories to feel safe. The part that loves without attachment, gives without expectation, and remains present without guarantees. This is the masculine she's been waiting for. Not perfect, but complete. Not without flaws, but without the need to hide them. Not invulnerable, but unbreakable in the ways that matter most. When a man reaches this level of integration, something miraculous happens. Her testing stops. Not because she's given up, but because she's found what she was looking for. She no longer needs to press against his boundaries because she can feel their solidity. She no longer needs to withdraw her warmth because she knows his fire burns independently. She no longer needs to create chaos because she's discovered his unshakable peace. This is the moment when relationship transforms from a game of power into a dance of equals. When two complete beings choose to share their completeness rather than seeking it in each other. But here's what most men don't realize. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires a man to walk through his own underworld first, to face the parts of himself he's been avoiding, to integrate his shadow, his wounds, his fears, and his untapped power, to stop outsourcing his emotional regulation to the women in his life. This is the real work, not learning how to pass her tests, but becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to. Because when you're grounded in your own truth, there's nothing to test. When you're connected to your own source, there's nothing to prove. When you're complete within yourself, there's nothing to lose. This is the secret the feminine has been trying to teach you all along. Her withdrawal isn't rejection, it's revelation. Her distance isn't punishment, it's invitation. Her complexity isn't confusion, it's initiation into your own depths. The question isn't whether you can win her approval. The question is whether you can find yourself in the space between her moods, whether you can love her fullness without losing your own, whether you can stand in the fire of her truth without being consumed by it. This is the initiation every man must face, not once, but repeatedly, until he learns to meet the feminine not as a boy seeking a mother, but as a king recognizing a queen. Only then does the testing end. Only then does the real love begin.